What is up, guys? Eric here from EVM Productions, here with my prediction video for UFC 319. Now, first off, shout out to all of the YouTube channels, like the MMA YouTube channels. I watched 3 or 4 prediction videos by now. Just put it on in the background and listened. And it's fun to see what everybody else's viewpoints and ideas are. Now, I'm going to predict 5 different fights. And I'm going to break down the main event. I'm not going to break down technically all the others for many reasons. One of which is 2 jobs. But anyway, first off, we have Bobby Green or King Green versus Diego Ferreira. I'm going with Diego Ferreira. Next up, we have Jared Cannonier versus MVP, Michael Venom Page. And I'm picking MVP. In that one, I can quickly tell you guys. Static object versus dynamic object. There. The rest you can fill in the blanks. Anyway, next up, Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates. I'm picking Jeff Neal because of the cardio aspect and that dog part of him. That's if Carlos Prates suddenly doesn't have insane cardio, which I doubt. Too small of a time frame for him to get that. Next up, Aaron Pico from Bellator versus Lerone Murphy. Surgeon contender. I'm picking Lerone Murphy. I think he will take him down. He will keep him there. And he will just beat him up the whole fight. Obviously, the first few rounds will be a bit more competitive. But I really don't think that Lerone is going to let this fight get dropped by not using his full tool set. And then we get into the part where the breakdown happens. Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Now, I'm going to tell you guys who I pick. And then I'm going to explain why. And I did quite a lot of film study for this because I like both of these guys. Like, really, I've been following them actually since 2019. Dricus I actually saw the first time fighting in 2017. I have a post, I've shared it every year, etc. And I remember Cameron Simon, he was 2019, 2018. Khamzat, I heard of the rumors that Gustafsson said about the Swedish guy in his training room. And then, a year and a bit later, the guy fights and he just destroys people. And from there, I followed him closely because everybody that was in the hardcore scene, etc., knew this is something special. And look where you are now, where we are now. Crazy. All right, so I am picking Dricus du Plessis. And I have a list of reasons here, actually, on why. And also, I will tell you guys this ahead of time. There's a lot of things that Khamzat does that I didn't expect when I saw the film study. I didn't expect he makes a certain few mistakes. I didn't expect that he hasn't developed as much with his striking as he did, even in his last fight. It was weird to see. Well, I'm not going to say his last fight. I'll say the Usman fight, specifically. Because Whittaker couldn't really do much before he got taken down. So, Khamzat is amazing. And if it was different circumstances, I would have picked him. I really do think he has the tool set to beat most middleweights. Really, I do think he has that kind of tool set. The only difference is here, his mistakes... where his yin is, Dricus is his yang, and that's the problem. Where his mistakes are is stuff that Dricus really capitalizes on. And that is kind of crazy. When I watched it, I was like, wow. And then vice versa in some ways, but the problem is Dricus has more of the counters. You guys see what I mean? There's more stuff that he counters with versus Khamzat. Now, I'm going to mention this ahead of time, guys. I'm not going to talk about attributes outside of cardio and possibly punching power because both of these guys hit hard. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Cardio, that rest is mental. Like somebody measuring how they fight, how much output they put in, that's mental. That's really mental. It's not really your body deciding it until you're past your limits. Then your body decides because your body starts limiting resources. It's like, bro, you're already are tired. I'm not giving you more energy to throw faster or harder. Stop. Your body tells you to stop there. Okay. I'll go over Khamzat's stuff that I saw. And specifically, I picked the Usman fight. I did watch the Gilbert Burns fight again. In fact, I can actually do it while we are here. Just because maybe I see something different, which I doubt. I really doubt. Because that fight, Khamzat decided, like, listen, we are going balls to the walls. And the reason why I'm focusing on Khamzat first is, I already told you guys who I'm picking. Now I want to explain why. So first off, Khamzat comes out, always pressuring. So Dricus will be pushed back a tiny bit. He got pushed back versus Israel Adesanya in the first round. And he got pushed back by who else? Derek Brunson. And people will bring up the Brunson performance, by the way, as a coping mechanism on why Khamzat's just going to win. Dricus can get pushed back. However, he is very smart in how he gets pushed back. He allows it in a way, and then he starts taking over. So Khamzat comes forward, and instantly Burns is pushed back past the black lines where anybody can get taken down. And instantly Khamzat does what he did versus Usman. So Khamzat has a very good rear leg teep or front kick to the body. Depends on how he throws it, but that stabbing kick pushes people back. And they can't really circle because they start circling towards the kick. They try to get away because they think, oh no, he's going to dip, shoot, and when I'm at that angle, he's going to get my lead leg. And then he's going to put me against the fence, put me down, etc. So they start circling towards his right hand. That's why he starts kicking. Sorry, table. He starts kicking that way. And that means you keep moving backwards and you do this. And then he puts you against the cage. He corners you. And when you're against that cage, he's just like, whoops, free reign. And here he threw a right hand to try and get into range. And then, boop, he gets the takedown. Well, he attempts it. Gilbert defends quite well and uses head positioning. I noticed this now when I watch Dricus as well. People don't use their head position well. Versus Khamzat, and then they get taken down. Like Usman kind of forgot about that aspect, but Dricus used it well versus Brunson, and here Gilbert Burns is using it well. And you see, guys, there's a duality there. That means it can happen. Like Dricus can use that, and he does it already better. They're against the cage. I remember he got taken down for a split moment, but when they get taken down, I'm going to pause. There's a reason. When they are almost down. Sorry. Almost down, he elevates him, and boom, he tries to slam him, but he doesn't get it. And Gilbert is now on his knees in a tripoded position, essentially. He's like this. And, well, actually, rear leg out, front leg forward like this. And his upper torso is here, and he's busy striking back while he's against the cage with his arm like here. Now, this is one of the biggest things that I don't know why people miss this. Completely, they do not see this. Khamzat doesn't do well when guys know how to build their base or stop their base from being completely destroyed. He does not do well with that. If you can tripod, get on your knees, give your back, if you're really, really smart at getting away from it, and if you can use the cage to build yourself back up, kind of like Izzy can do quite well, then Khamzat struggles. And if you're on the ground and you're on your knees, you know how to offset his position when he has the back or whatever position he's in, then Khamzat struggles. Yes, he's still on top and he's landing shots, but in that moment, he's either trying to finish via strikes first, and that's another pattern that he has. He tries to strike first and then goes for submissions. And if his strikes doesn't really do anything and he tries to improve his position in between, and he's not really doing that while he's getting offset the whole time and he doesn't have his balance, he doesn't have the position, then he kind of gets frustrated and he goes for the submission, and if that doesn't work, he just chills there. It kind of is like he gets nullified. That's how big of a difference it is. Right now, Burns is just sitting, getting hit because of the position he put himself in here. He's open for strikes more, but nothing's really happening. And Khamzat, he tries to sweep and toss people, often judo attacks, but he doesn't get it quite well here in MMA. Versus Usman, he struggled. Here he's struggling. Whittaker, unfortunately, instantly got pancaked. He really did well at getting Whittaker in a certain position before he could defend and get to his knees, and then he squashed him. So here he's trying to pull out the leg, but Gilbert pulls back, stands up, and then because he was busy standing up, let me use this cloth as an example. Khamzat grabs him and starts pulling him by the hips, or actually has the S grip, whoop, and he starts pulling him backwards, because it's one of the tricks. I love doing this as well, because you expend less energy and you still get somebody down. However, boom, Gilbert falls on his hip. He falls on his hip. If you guys do not understand why that is different, he falls on his hip and he falls against the cage. Then he scoots his hip out, and from here, I want to see, does he control Khamzat's one leg? No. He's trying to post with the one leg, but he's scooting his butt against the cage. Attacks the arm, gets up. Now he's against the cage. He's turned his back and he's against the cage. Like I said, giving up your back. It's another way you can defend versus Khamzat. Khamzat tries to pull and drag him down. Gilbert actually lands a good elbow, goes down to his knees, he grandly rolls, and he's on top almost. But the body lock was still too strong there, and the long limbs of Khamzat is the problem. Bonk. You guys see, and Gilbert throws up a triangle attack. He throws up a triangle. Hold on. When he's on his back here, he starts building towards a triangle, controls the posture of Khamzat, and people didn't see this. People were just like, no, Khamzat's on top, he's dominating. He pushes him off. Khamzat stands on his feet. He's like, no. Let's get up. And you see, Khamzat doesn't do anything, because he got attacked in mid position. He was about to improve his position to try and submit, or just try to strike more. Let me just focus real quick. Right here, there. Almost gets caught in, well, more attempt. But the thing is, Khamzat is conscious of what the jiu-jitsu players can do on the ground, and he doesn't want to participate there. The same thing happened when Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev fought. Islam backed off on going to the ground with Charles. He did try to get him down or pin him against the cage from there and strike with him, because he was better at striking at that point, but he didn't go to the ground until he knocked him down. When you're knocked down, you don't think clearly. It's a real fuzzy feeling. Your head's doing this, and you can't see anything, or you're seeing stars, which is even worse, or you're seeing this blackness on the side of your vision, and you don't think clearly. You do stupid things. You do things that doesn't make sense. Like, I remember I had an accident. The other day, me and a friend talked about this, actually. Had an accident in 2020. Actually, I wanted to give you guys an example, a physical example. But anyway, a piece of steel bigger than this, about this long, in length and width, and was about 5 kilograms. That is 12, 15 pounds. It fell on the sharp angle. It fell on my skull, and it knocked me like this, and it split my skull open. Now, I instantly knew that was a bomb of a shot. But my first reaction was, I waddled over to my coworker and I looked him dead in the eyes, and I was like, holy shit, I've been hit harder by sparring partners. And that's when I saw blood just piss all over my eyes. And that's when I knew that was bad. And it got worse and worse. The concussion symptoms got worse and worse. It was a high-level concussion, probably. I ended up getting 5 stitches and got sent home for 2 weeks. No, it wasn't 2 weeks. It was a few days, sorry. I took off in the next week because I was still not feeling nearly well. But that's when I learned I had a tooth infection here, abscess. But yeah, anyway, point is, when you're not fully there, you do not choose to try and submit somebody correctly. You're going to be so dazed, and also your body feels weak. It really feels weird. So that's why Islam Makhachev got that choke. Khamzat here is smart enough to know, oh no, we're both still fresh, he's not hurt, I'm not participating. That's why he didn't. Now this is part of the reason why I'm picking DDP. That's why I'm mentioning that. Anyway guys, I'm going to stop there for Khamzat. Khamzat is good at getting you down. He's good at trips and sweeps. when he gets into the fight, the first round, he is decent. I'm not going to say great. He's decent at pressuring and finding his distance. However, he struggled to get his distance, to get a takedown versus Usman. And with Burns, I want to check the second round, where the start of the second round is. So here's where the first round ends, because Gilbert was pushing a little bit. Problem is he got hurt in the process and got dropped with a jab, a southpaw jab. Okay, I want to see how does the fight start in round 2. How does Khamzat find his range? Without your range, by the way, guys, I just need to explain this. If I am too far for you to kick, punch, or shoot a takedown on me, then your whole game is neutralized. You can't do shit. I can just dance around you. And if I'm faster, think about MVP that's fighting this weekend. So when you guys watch him fight, actually focus on how good he is at getting in, getting out. If somebody can do that versus a guy like Khamzat, he's losing. He's losing. And especially if the guy can defend while doing that as well with takedowns, he's winning. That's why if somebody's too far out of range or too far in, it kind of is a problem. The range one is the biggest one. It's a neutralizer, full-blown neutralizer. Think Floyd Mayweather versus almost all of his fighters, all of the fighters he fought in boxing. He was a master at keeping distance. That's why he won a lot. So, Khamzat pressures forward, but Gilbert is pressuring him. And the reason why he's giving him space is because he was losing the last minute or 30 seconds or so when he got hit back after the knockdown. So he's a little bit cautious. He's like, no. And instantly he does what I already saw. He kicks. So he threw a leg kick, which is weird. In the Usman fight, he never threw leg kicks because he was fighting a stronger wrestler probably. But Khamzat, yep, and there's the teep or the lead front kick. Khamzat has a strong rear leg kick. He doesn't throw the lead kick. He throws the rear one to push you back. John Jones does something similar. He does something very similar. And then he uses his teep, his lead stomp kick. I forgot what the name, the oblique kick. I forgot what the name is. I don't see that oblique kick that much. I saw Robert Whittaker is the last guy that used it. But yeah, other people don't usually stomp the knee that often. Kind of interesting to see that kind of attack is not being used as often now. Anyway, Khamzat pressures that way. The problem with that low kick is I can time it. Dricus can time it. Any fighter can time a loose low kick with gloves barely bigger than our hands when somebody throws it. And that means they are open. They're open to strikes, specifically strikes, not kicks or knees, specifically punches, long range straight shots. Long range straight shots. It is a trick to pull, but if you can do it, you can time somebody where you move, he kicks. Like, okay, noted, you'll kick. Okay, cool. And the next moment, you see that teep coming. Either you're going to take it, like Dricus with the high guard, which is, I really can see it in my head, and then he throws that wild hook right hand, or he can instantly grab the foot, throw the overhand, and then pop, there, boom. Khamzat will not take the power as well as he thinks. Because if Gilbert Burns could drop him, and Usman could rock him as well, Dricus will hurt him. So guys, I don't know if Morne Visser and those guys actually watched the fight and noticed this, but I do hope they did, because I'm picking him. Sorry guys, it's like me picking my side right now. If I picked Khamzat, the same thing would have happened. Just being honest. I have no real dog in this fight. This is more from the technical standpoint. Okay. So, from here, I think we know how the fight went. Khamzat didn't... People said that he was tired at this point. He was not tired instantly in the second round. He got tired from the wrestling and the striking exchanges. Because, funny enough, a lot of people say, no, a wrestler should stop striking when he is tired. When in fact, it should actually be he should not wrestle as much, because wrestling still sucks your gas tank a little bit more, especially when you have somebody that's strong enough to use their anti-wrestling against you in a way where you can't get advantageous positions, etc., to rest. That means you're struggling to get this person down, and now you're forced to strike while already tired. Khamzat versus shorter fighters, which Dricus is barely shorter than him. I'm pretty sure about it. He likes to feint the rear hand and then dip down below the jab that he throws. However, and also the switch hits. He switches, and the reason why he actually switches, and people don't get it, is he wants to find the range to throw the takedown, to get the takedowns going. See, right now he's southpaw, jabs, and he almost shot, but then he got countered bad by a right hand just behind his arm, because those tiny gloves are barely bigger than your fist. You don't have a lot of space to cover. Like his hand was here actually, and he got clipped behind the ear. Well, actually on the tip of the chin. Nice rear right hook by Khamzat. Okay, let me get into the full breakdown from here, because I wanted to break down Khamzat's side and then Dricus's. Alright, so I have a lot here, which I'll explain. Again, Dricus is a lot better at finding range on the feet. He starts the fights quite well, but the only thing that does bother me, which I'll get into the weaknesses a bit later, but I'm going to mention this one before I forget. He does, in the first round, take a minute to analyze his opponent. He says he doesn't, he does. And it's visible in his body language, etc. The problem with that is you don't have a minute unless you really stall versus Khamzat, which nobody has been able to do that. So in this fight, you will need to fight first and defend and then analyze, which I'm not sure he can do. So he's a lot better, Dricus du Plessis is a lot better at finding his range on the feet. People think the high guard makes things a bit hard for him, but he is very good at establishing and finding his range. And then when he does, he chills a tiny bit and then he starts dictating the fight. Something that he mentions often is, I want to make them fight my fight. And he does that so good. When I watched these fights over, I was like, people don't notice this. He starts controlling the fight. In the Izzy fight, he didn't find his range, and Izzy didn't find his as well, outside of the leg kicks and the body kicks. So what he did is chill, throw some head kicks, toss some random stuff around while he finds his range. And the moment he touched his gloves, he started blitzing in and started landing. And that's when he said, okay, Bob's your uncle, it's time to put the pressure on. And he started landing a lot more. Izzy couldn't land his strikes. You guys can go rewatch that. Focus on his boxing. He struggled to land his strikes. Because either he was barely out of reach, like this, or he was landing on the arms of Dricus when Dricus was doing his thing. Jeez, I'm trying to emulate him. And it was landing and rolling off. And some of the body shots were landing, but other times Dricus was like this and he'd land on the forearm or on the outer side of the tricep. It was not landing. And then Dricus retaliated, because one of his best assets is he gives you a shot. He allows you to land a shot at him, and he trades more shots for you. That means you land one, he lands 2 or 4 strikes, depending on which land and which he wants to exchange with. The more the fight goes on, the more he gives. Kind of like a Max Holloway kind of situation, which that is very bad considering I saw holes in Khamzat's striking. Khamzat struggles to find his striking on the feet, and the exact shots he tries to throw, he struggles with. In the Usman fight, he came out southpaw, then orthodox, etc. Now the reason why he was doing that is he was moving to see, can I land the strikes now here? Can I land the strikes now here? But he couldn't. Usman saw this, and Usman's been improving with his striking. So Usman moved a certain way, and they call it a reverse shuffle in boxing. He just reverse shuffled with certain shots from southpaw, and when orthodox, he was just moving away, or possibly on and off into the right hand in a way where he would just dip, that shot would just move, or land on the guard, and then he threw back. Usman was better striking than Khamzat, even if Khamzat was coming forward. This is bad versus a guy like Dricus that's much better than Usman on the feet. And he is much better than Usman at finding shots. It's one of the big things I wrote down here. He finds openings in his opponents. He found openings in Izzy. He found openings in everybody he fought. And he even looked better when he did it versus Strickland in their rematch. That is bad because Khamzat is open to many strikes. People really do not notice how many holes he has. Like with his southpaw strike just now versus Burns. He threw his jab, and then Burns timed him. One, and then Burns threw. And his hand was here. That means he was defending. But he landed right behind the ear with a right hand. So he got knocked, moved back, and then threw around the ear. And he landed, and he rocked Khamzat. In the first round, Khamzat likes to touch the gloves. Dricus will let him touch the gloves and then strike over with his wild shots, like I said earlier. That is big problems for him. And then another thing, Dricus will allow him to find his range with that rear kick, that rear teep kick, because he fought a better teeper in Sean Strickland, and he knows what he needs to do from there. When that teep lands, I spring. He's literally like a spring that decompresses, whoom, and then he starts throwing. He will do that versus Khamzat, and I don't know how Khamzat's going to react. Plus, the power. That's where the power comes in. The only attribute I wanted to mention, the punching power. There's a big difference between Khamzat's power and Dricus's. The statistics shows everything and how people react when he lands. Go watch the fights, you guys will see. Well, do your own film study. Point is, how will he react in round 1 when that starts landing? And that is if Khamzat doesn't just fly in with the takedowns. But the problem is, Khamzat can't do takedowns unless he finds his range. He likes to find his range and then dip down. And also he likes pressuring people to a certain spot before that because then he can use the cage. Dricus is quite good at getting away from that or mitigating it. That means Dricus will already have the advantage by establishing his range. So that means he will be able to land on him, on Khamzat, and Khamzat won't land on him. He will be like a spring with that rear kick, meaning he possibly will not let him pressure him that much with it. He'd rather take it and then trade the shots with him. You give me one, I give you 1, 2, 3, 4. Especially in context of this fight, that is bad. And then on top of that, the range for the takedowns. Dricus will know I'm not going to throw too much or overextend too much to defend. Now, I'll get to the specific defense later, because the problem is when Khamzat gets him down, which, like he said in interviews, he thinks Khamzat will get him down. That is when shit hits the fan a little bit, but then there's a different thing that's a counter. So I just want to mention this real quick. We're talking about the stand-up part first, because every round starts on the feet. Stand-up range, Dricus is better there. Shot selection is better. Finding his shots, I already mentioned it. He's a lot better at them. Especially if he sees the same holes that I saw land on Khamzat in the Burns fight, the Usman fight, then Dricus will find them. Those are literally his bread and butter shots. Hooks, right hands, shots to the body, leg kicks. These are things that Dricus is literally the best at in this division, in my humble opinion. From there, Dricus has very awkward timing, meaning if he starts landing that stuff, Khamzat is used to more traditional timing, definitely, and then a little bit slow timing from Usman. That weird timing is a problem, because if the holes are there and through those holes the shots are landing, then Dricus will land them every time. And Khamzat will be shy to throw if he gets clipped. Every fighter that's fought Dricus, when they get clipped, they get shy. They don't want to throw as often because of the power, because of the damage. Izzy was a prime example of this, but everybody, even Sean Strickland, in the rematch. The first fight, he was like, I don't care, and he got hurt. But in the second fight, you can see he gets hit, he doesn't want to throw back. Everybody reacts that way. Khamzat hasn't been hit this hard. Will he react worse, or will he react the same and just keep his distance and then try and find it again? Because Khamzat does this thing where he gives space and then he instantly starts trying to pressure you. Trying is the key word here. What else? The distance for the takedowns, like I said, Dricus keeps a very good distance for the takedowns. And funny enough, I just rewatched for the third time the Brunson fight because people will use that as a big example on why Dricus will not win versus Khamzat. But the problem is, Dricus started dominating that fight after he defended and attacked very well on the ground. And that is something else. And what I mean by attacking on the ground is he throws up submissions constantly. It's one of the best weapons versus a wrestler, versus a pure wrestler. And Dricus is quite good at this. I actually noticed that when that fight, I was like, this is a lot of submission attempts, etc. And Brunson's reacting. And at one point, Brunson just kind of tried to get his position away because he was like, oh crap. Then also, Dricus is quite good at manipulating his opponent's positions when they're on top of him, i.e. his back or in guard. He's very good at that. And that is something that Khamzat has a problem with. Khamzat struggles when people tripod or have their base a little bit built. He struggles, like I explained earlier in this video. He does not do well there. And Dricus is amazing at getting back to his knees, etc. The moment where he was flattened, people think he was flattened out. He wasn't. He was not versus Derek Brunson. He actually turned to his side a certain way, where even if it was a neck crank, it won't turn his head, it won't hurt. That was genius. That is stuff that only Usman, in my opinion, and Burns really did well versus Khamzat. And guess what? Neither of them got finished. Dricus can do that. And he did it better, in my opinion, versus Derek Brunson. And I was like, wow, people didn't notice this stuff because they don't train, and it just looks like somebody's just on top of somebody else. They think the guy on top is just winning. And that's why the scoring system got screwed so bad. No, not at all. Guys, not at all. Okay. Here I was just talking about Khamzat struggling to get submissions when people have their base. One of the weaknesses that Dricus has is he has a weakness where he throws kicks to the midsection and the head versus wrestlers. This is one of the fight IQ moments which I hope Morne Visser, his coach, told him. With a wrestler, you don't do that. Versus everybody else, go crazy. Because it does not work as well. My personal rule is you do not throw kicks above the hips. Yeah, above the hips. You do not throw kicks versus a guy that can wrestle. Because that guy will catch your leg, or he will time your leg coming down, and he will shoot in for a takedown by faking up top and then shooting down. He will get you down. You do not do that. Knees are okay. You just need to time them. Elbows, which he landed on Derek Brunson, by the way. Elbows are okay. Uppercuts, think, again, Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades, or Francis Ngannou versus Curtis Blades. Or the flying knee, like Edson Barboza landed on Beneil Dariush years ago. Those are things that you can do versus wrestlers. But you do not kick to the body, which he did versus Derek Brunson. That's actually how the first takedown went. I was like, how does he get taken down? Oh, he made a mistake. Which is so funny to think about because it's kind of, you can see it in his body language. He's like, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have done that. What else? Dricus attacks constantly and Khamzat dislikes that. He really didn't like when Usman started pressuring him back with strikes the whole time, and Burns. It's something he doesn't do well with. And then with the power difference, how will he react? And also, the biggest thing is, I do think in the first 2 rounds, Khamzat will get Dricus down. However, I do think from there he will get frustrated because Dricus will build up his base a lot and not be endangered all the time. And if Dricus does what he did versus Derek Brunson, where he attacks with jiu-jitsu a lot, Khamzat hates that. He stood up versus Burns and didn't really attempt takedowns from there. Let me see, actually. He didn't really attack anything past getting to the cage because of the submission attacks from Gilbert Burns. Funny enough, Usman didn't attempt many jiu-jitsu attacks versus Khamzat, and I think actually if he did, he would have gotten out of a lot of the situations there. There's only a set few submissions that I tell people, they really need to work that out when they're facing a separate wrestler. a wrestling opponent, because some of those put you in the bad position, you at the bottom, etc. Guys like to do these mistakes versus Marab at 135, and it gets them in shit. Same with Nurmagomedov, Umar, same thing. So here, they got to the ground again, and I just want to see how it initiated. So they're striking. Oh, Gilbert shot the takedown. That's another thing. Dricus likes to offset wrestlers' attacks by wrestling himself, which is fine and all if you set it up correctly. But he did get himself in a shitty position because of it. And then he reversed it, etc. But that's not the best idea in the first 2 rounds versus Khamzat. So Khamzat goes for the DAS because of his long-ass arms. But Gilbert instantly gets out. He slips out. And then he instantly gets his knees up. So this is where I'm shouting out Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse, such a genius in the octagon. And even now, out of it. He's retired, but he's still a genius at MMA. So he pointed out that if you get taken down, you better make sure that your knees are underneath your opponent, so that you can post on their hips or bring it up to their chest and make space. You need to make space. Now he says it's for smaller people, but like smaller opponents versus a bigger opponent, but no, it's for everybody, because everybody who did that versus Khamzat got out of it. And right now, Gilbert is landing strikes. This was round 2, if you guys are wondering, at 1 minute 40 or so. And remember, this is where he gave him the up kick, and he literally sent him flying. And they started striking again because Gilbert was pressing this round. So I want to see, did they go to the ground again? Gilbert attempted going to the ground because he felt, no, I can possibly get him down, but it's not the best idea. I'll give you guys a clear understand, like a clear backbone of what I think was going to happen in this fight now. Yeah, he dropped Khamzat, I remember. Again, overhand right. What is one of Dricus du Plessis' best weapons? Damn overhand right. Bonk! And he sends him flying. And then he got, Usman Burns got taken down, but the round ended. Anyway, okay guys. So, here's how I want you guys to visualize the fight right now. Dricus bumps out the way he usually does in the first round. Throws a low kick. Khamzat throws that stabbing lead kick, or attempts it, and I think it will either miss in the first few seconds or it will land. Like it will land to the body, to the temple. You guys know what I'm trying to talk about. Esophagus, blah, blah, blah. And Dricus will move back. However, Dricus will attempt, and I'm saying attempt, to strike in between there. Now, this is where a key thing will happen. If Dricus lands, Khamzat will just back off and keep pressuring again. And possibly in the first round he will do that because of the power still. I don't think in the first round he will freak out and try to back off, but eventually he will. Because Dricus lands on people and then they freeze like this. Then he will still keep kicking, and pressuring. He will shoot. Dricus will either get taken down instantly if he throws midway, or if he lands and he's on top of Khamzat, they will have this crazy scramble. And I do think the first round, Khamzat will get a better position, and it will either be against the cage, fighting off the cage, or semi on the ground, etc. Landing strikes in between on each other, and it will be a wrestling exchange, etc. And the round will go to Khamzat. The second round will start similarly, but this is where Khamzat's cardio, the key thing that people mention, will either show his improvements, which I think he will improve, or it will go away. And we will see him welt a little bit, and Dricus will find his range, start landing over that long teep, and start landing overall, finding him from there. And then panic wrestling will happen, and Dricus will actually get a better position because Dricus is better at keeping his knees under him, building his base, etc. From there, it will be all Dricus, all snowball until a finish, or until all 5 rounds is done. Literally, it will be a mix of those two, where certain rounds will go to Khamzat and certain ones will go to Dricus. But I think Dricus will make him wilt, will fizzle out. So yeah, guys, that's my prediction video. Another very long one, but I'm very passionate about this one. So yeah, guys, enjoy and let me know who you guys think is going to win. This fight was very fun to predict. I hope whoever wins gets a good contender, but the loser, I want to see some different matchups. For Dricus, he can fight everybody. And with Khamzat, I want to see him versus RDR, for example. That would be a very good fight. Anyway, guys, have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.